American dream changed the world, but its history is more complicated than you think. What if one idea was powerful enough to change the entire world? Not a weapon, not a government, not even a single person, just an idea. An idea that convinced millions of people to leave everything behind, to cross oceans, to risk their lives, to start over with absolutely nothing. An idea that told ordinary people, if you work hard enough, one day your life can become extraordinary. That idea became known as the American Dream. For generations, the American Dream represented freedom, opportunity, success, and the belief that anyone, no matter where they came from, could build a better future. But here's the question nobody really asks. Was the American Dream ever truly real? Or was it always more complicated than people wanted to admit? Because behind the beautiful image of success stories, suburban homes, luxury cars, and perfect families lies a deeper history filled with struggle, sacrifice, inequality, ambition, heartbreak, and reinvention. Some people achieved unbelievable success through the dream. Others spent their entire lives chasing it and never reached it. And today, more people than ever are beginning to question whether the dream still exists at all. So where did the American dream actually come from? Why did it become so powerful? How did it reshape the world? And why does it still affect millions of people today? Stay until the very end, because the final part of this story might completely change the way you see success, hard work, and your own future. And if this video gives you a new perspective, make sure to share your thoughts in the comments section. Because this conversation is much bigger than most people realize. Before the dream even had a name, long before the phrase American Dream existed, the idea itself was already beginning. To understand it, we need to go back hundreds of years. Back to a time when much of the world was controlled by kings, empires, rigid social classes, and inherited wealth. In many countries, your future was decided the moment you were born. If you were poor, you usually stayed poor. If your family had no power, you had almost no chance of rising higher. For ordinary people, life often felt trapped. But across the Atlantic Ocean, something different was beginning to emerge. America, at least in theory, offered possibility. Not perfection, not equality, not fairness for everyone, but possibility. People started arriving with hopes of religious freedom, land ownership, financial opportunity, and a fresh start. To immigrants living in difficult conditions across Europe and other parts of the world, America slowly became more than just a country. It became an idea, a place where your future might depend less on your bloodline and more on your effort. That belief was revolutionary. And even though the reality was often far harsher than the promise, the myth of opportunity continued to grow. By the 1800s, stories of self-made men began spreading everywhere. Farmers becoming landowners, workers becoming business owners, immigrants building new lives from nothing. America started selling the image that hard work could transform destiny. And for many people watching from around the world, it looked magical. But there was already a contradiction hiding underneath the dream. Because while some people were rising, millions of others were excluded from the opportunity entirely. Enslaved people, women, native communities, poor laborers, immigrants facing discrimination. The dream was never equally available to everyone. And that contradiction would follow the American dream for the next several centuries. Still, despite all of that, the dream kept growing stronger. Because hope is one of the most powerful forces in human history. And people will endure unbelievable hardship if they believe a better future is possible. The moment the dream got its name. Interestingly, the phrase American Dream didn't become famous during America's richest years. It became popular during one of its darkest, the Great Depression. The 1930s were devastating. Banks collapsed. Millions lost jobs. Families lost homes. People waited in long bread lines just to survive. The economy was shattered. And yet, during this painful period, historian James Truslow Adams wrote about something he believed still existed inside America. He called it the American dream. But his definition wasn't just about becoming rich. It was about the chance for every person to live a better, fuller, and more meaningful life. That idea mattered deeply during the Depression, because when people lose money, comfort, and stability, hope becomes even more valuable. The American dream became emotional. It became psychological. It became something people needed to believe in. And after World War II, the dream exploded. This is the version most people recognize. The booming economy, the suburban house, the white picket fence, the stable job, the car parked outside, the smiling family. This became the global image of success. Movies showed it. Advertisements sold it. Television glorified it. The American dream was no longer just an idea. It became a lifestyle, and the entire world watched. People across continents saw America as the land where success was possible. Immigration increased. Ambition increased. Competition increased. The dream became one of the most influential cultural exports in history. But even during its golden age, cracks were already forming beneath the surface. Because not everyone experienced the same reality. Some families built generational wealth. Others remained trapped in poverty. Some communities benefited from opportunity. Others faced barriers that made upward mobility far more difficult. And despite the perfect advertisements, many people quietly struggled to maintain the image of success. The dream inspired people, but it also created pressure. Pressure to constantly achieve. Pressure to appear successful. Pressure to never fall behind. And over time, the meaning of the dream slowly began to change. When success became the new religion, at some point, the American dream stopped being only about survival. It became about status. Bigger houses, more money, more possessions, better lifestyles. Success became something visible, and modern consumer culture pushed the idea even further. People were told, if you work hard enough, you can have everything. Luxury became aspiration. Cars became symbols. Brands became identity. Wealth became proof of worth. And slowly, many people began connecting personal value with financial success. That changed society in major ways. The dream created innovation, competition, entrepreneurship, economic growth. But it also created burnout, anxiety, comparison, and the fear of failure. Because if success is available to everyone, then people start blaming themselves when they don't achieve it. That's one of the hidden psychological sides of the American dream. It can motivate people to become extraordinary, but it can also make people feel like they are never enough. And as decades passed, the gap between the dream and reality started becoming harder to ignore. College became more expensive. Housing prices rose. Living costs increased. Meanwhile, social media created a world where everyone constantly compares their lives to others. Now, the dream wasn't just happening in neighborhoods. It was happening online. Everywhere people looked, they saw curated success. Luxury vacations, perfect lifestyles, entrepreneur success stories, millionaire influencers. And millions of people began asking themselves, am I falling behind? This is why the American dream still fascinates people today, because it represents both hope and pressure, freedom and competition, possibility and uncertainty, the people who chased it. One of the reasons the American dream became so powerful is because of the stories attached to it. Stories of people who started with absolutely nothing. Immigrants arriving with little money, workers taking multiple jobs, families sacrificing comforts so future generations could live better lives. These stories are real, and they matter, because hard work truly has changed countless lives. Many successful people came from difficult beginnings. Some faced rejection repeatedly before succeeding. Some failed businesses multiple times. Some experienced poverty, discrimination, or instability. But they kept going. That persistence became one of the deepest parts of the dream. The belief that your current situation does not have to define your future. And honestly, there's something deeply inspiring about that. Human beings need hope. Without hope, ambition dies. Without ambition, progress slows. The American dream gave millions of people permission to imagine bigger possibilities for themselves. That alone changed history. But here's another truth people rarely talk about. Hard work does not always guarantee success. Sometimes people work incredibly hard and still struggle. Sometimes opportunity depends on timing, location, education, luck, connections, or circumstances outside someone's control. And understanding that complexity matters, because life is rarely as simple as motivational quotes make it seem. Still, even knowing all this, people continue chasing the dream. Why? Because deep down, most humans want the same things: security, freedom, purpose, respect, a better future. And the American dream packaged all of those desires into one powerful story. Why the dream is changing. Today, the American dream looks very different from what it looked like 50 years ago. For older generations, success often meant stability, a house, a long-term career, a family, retirement savings. But younger generations increasingly define success differently. Some care more about flexibility than ownership, more about freedom than status, more about experiences than material possessions. Many people no longer want to spend their entire lives working jobs they hate just to maintain appearances. Others are questioning whether endless consumption actually leads to happiness. And technology has completely transformed opportunity. Today, someone can build a business online, become globally influential from a smartphone, create content watched by millions. The internet created entirely new versions of the dream, but it also created new challenges. Attention became currency, competition became global, distractions multiplied. Now millions of people are chasing success in a world more crowded and fast-moving than ever before. That's why discipline matters more today than many people realize. Because opportunities exist everywhere, but so do distractions. And this is where the story becomes personal. Because the American dream is no longer just about America. The idea spread across the entire world. People everywhere now chase their own version of it. Some want financial freedom. Some want creative freedom. Some want peace. Some simply want a better life for their families. The dream evolved into something universal. The desire to become more than your current circumstances. The dangerous side of comparison. One of the biggest problems in modern society is that people constantly compare their journey to someone else's highlight reel. And social media makes this even worse. You can open your phone for 5 minutes and suddenly feel like everybody is richer, more successful, happier, and further ahead than you. But what most people don't realize is that success stories often hide years of struggle. Behind every overnight success are usually countless invisible hours of work. Failures nobody saw. Sacrifices nobody applauded. Moments of doubt nobody posted online. This is important because many people quit too early. Not because they lack talent, but because they lose patience. The modern world trains people to expect fast results, fast money, fast fame, fast growth. But most meaningful success still takes time, consistency still matters. Discipline still matters. And even though the American dream has flaws, one part of it remains incredibly powerful. The belief that effort matters. Not guaranteed success, but meaningful effort. Because when people stop trying entirely, nothing changes. History repeatedly shows that persistence can completely alter someone's future. Not instantly, not perfectly, but gradually. And that lesson matters whether you live in America or anywhere else in the world. Maybe the real dream isn't just wealth. Maybe it's the ability to build a life with purpose. A life where your hard work creates opportunities. A life where you continue improving. A life where you refuse to give up on yourself. Because at its best, the American dream was never supposed to mean perfection. It was supposed to mean possibility. The possibility that your future can improve. And honestly, that mindset still matters, especially in difficult times. Because every generation faces obstacles. Economic uncertainty, competition, fear, failure, disappointment. But progress almost always belongs to people who continue learning, adapting, and moving forward. That doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to become completely defeated by it. The real message of this story. So after everything we've talked about, what is the truth about the American dream? The truth is that it changed the world. It inspired millions, built industries, created innovation, pushed people to imagine bigger futures. But it was never simple. It was always complicated. For some people, the dream opened doors. For others, those doors remained much harder to reach. Sometimes the dream created hope. Sometimes it created pressure. Sometimes it motivated greatness. Sometimes it left people exhausted. But maybe the most important lesson is this. Your future is not built in one moment. It's built slowly, through discipline, through consistency, through learning, through resilience. And no matter where you come from, your mindset matters more than most people realize. Because history repeatedly shows that people who stay committed, adaptable, and hardworking often create opportunities that once seemed impossible. Not every dream becomes reality. But without effort, almost nothing changes. So keep learning, keep improving, keep building, even when progress feels slow, even when nobody notices, even when things become difficult. Because many of the people who eventually succeeded were once underestimated too. And maybe the real dream isn't becoming famous or rich. Maybe it's becoming the best version of yourself despite the obstacles in front of you. If you made it all the way to the end, comment what the American dream means to you today. Do you think it still exists? Or has the meaning completely changed? And if this video gave you a new perspective, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Because conversations like this matter now more than ever. And remember, keep going, keep working, keep believing that your future can improve. Because history has always belonged to people who refuse to stop trying.